Episode of All Things Xbox podcast. Once again, I got Logan with me. Logan, how you doing this week?
I'm doing great, Jamie. Life is good. We had a great dev direct last week, which we'll talk about. Overall, things are going good over here and just enjoying lots of gaming and media and sports goodness. How about you, man?
Yeah, lots of video games. It's been a good week, and I've actually been getting into wrestling again because
Oh, very nice.
it's on Netflix now. And by the way, it's much like we are talking about me not playing Call of Duty multiplayer for 10 years. Well, last time I watched wrestling, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock were basically fighting every week. So now I have no idea who any of these people are. But I'm along for the ride. But I'm enjoying it. I think the most important part of me trying to get back into wrestling, if the people join the show, yes, this is a gaming show, but bear with me. I actually find myself looking forward to these shows because over here Raw is like live at 1 a.m. on Tuesdays. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm a night owl, so it really suits me. But I will say this though, SmackDown is still on I think Peacock in the US. So over here we still get the ad breaks you do over there. American TV has so many ad breaks. I don't know
Oh,
how
it's
you.
awful, man.
Yeah, so in the UK there's an ad break every 15 minutes. But SmackDown has an ad break every 5 minutes. Like I don't know how you guys put up with ads in the US, but it is infuriating. Like I think like Game
It's
of
the TikTok brain, man.
yeah,
They're used to it.
like even like some big TV shows like Game of Thrones in the UK, we get one ad break every 30 minutes. But wow. Before we get in with the show, which is a lot of cool gaming topics. We have the first super chat of the day by Adidas 20 for $2. Thank you very much. He says salute with two salute emojis. Very much appreciated. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's a good time. This week's actually been good for gaming news. Lots of for people that follow me on Twitter, I tend to argue with myself a lot because I'm kind of sick of how all gaming news is leaks, rumors. But we have a lot of game related news this week, which is very exciting. Anyway, before we get into all that stuff, Logan, what have you been playing this week?
Man, I've been playing like a whole smorgasbord of stuff lately. It's been wild. I've been of course mainstay Power Wash Sim. Is just the chill, get relaxed title, and also been playing the Doom 1 and 2 uh revision from, Night Dive Machine Games and id. I'm almost at the end of the campaign of the first Doom and the expansions. I think I have one expansion after this for the first one, and then I move on to Doom 2. And really enjoying that. Indiana Jones, I am now in the Siamese Jungle section. Man, that game is so good. Just, chef's kiss. Like we I know everybody waxes poetic about Baker's job with Indiana, and rightfully so, and
Yeah.
he deserves all the accolades. But I wanted to also give a shout out to the rest of the cast because they're really, really good as well. And it makes me think that they should open up at the Game Awards and some other things like, have a best actor and actress
Oh
kind
yeah.
of like they do at film things and stuff, because the idea of having to choose between a Melina and a Troy Baker for one spot, I mean, that's a Sophie's choice they shouldn't have to do. They should be able to both win. Especially, I know people forget Indiana Jones did technically come out last year,
Yeah.
even though for reasons it won't be eligible for Game of the Year until like this year for Jeff's show. And so I've been playing through that. Started Ender Magnolia, which is awesome. It's what I expected it to be, which is more fantastic, just Metroidvania bliss. And I gave the first one a masterpiece. I highly recommend it. Ender Lilies, if you haven't played it, Go play it. It's fantastic. And they had good news that they announced that they have sold over 2.5 million copies of Lilies and Magnolia already since Magnolia just launched,
Oh wow.
which is a huge deal for a small studio. So congrats to them. Hope they continue to do well. Always support, the smaller studios that actually come to the platform, especially ones that do great games like this. It's fantastic. And then I've jumped into Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, and man, I was rusty.
Yeah.
It had been a very long time since I had walked away of the ninja. And yeah, I go back in there thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna string together all these combos like I used to, and this and this, and it's like, man, these spider footling soldier guys are actually a lot tougher than I remembered. So I'm gonna have to re-earn my wheels on that. But yeah, we'll jump more into Ninja Gaiden later because that's a topic. But yeah, just playing a whole bunch of different stuff. How about you, man?
A bunch of different games. I mean, uh, you know, we'll talk about Ninja Gaiden later, but like you, I'm rusty. I haven't played Ninja Gaiden since I want to say I think it was actually Ninja Gaiden 2 on 360. So it's been a long time. Um, and yeah, it will be talking about that and the camera later in the show.
Oh
Uh,
gosh, burn that thing with fire. It's
yeah,
awful.
and the thing is, everyone's dealing with that same camera. Like, no matter what you're playing it on, it's oof. But again, we'll be talking about that later. I've actually been playing a lot of Metal Gear Solid because I got the collection for Christmas. I finished Metal Gear Solid 1. My God, that game is incredible. Like, it's been so long since I played it. I haven't played it in 20 years. And, like, playing that game now with, like, Xbox achievements and stuff, it's just really good. What can I say?
Does, does Psycho Mantis still do the read your memory stuff like for games? Like, how does it work on an Xbox? Because I haven't played it since the original, PlayStation version where he read your memory card to let you know what you had been played. So how does like the newer revision do?
Yeah, so there's, like, Xbox specific stuff when it comes to that. So, for instance, like, the code that you need to call for uh, Merrill, like, the code is actually on the back of the box, like the Xbox case. But if you bought it digitally, there's a digital guide and, like, digital case which you can view, like, in game. Um, but when it comes to the save reading stuff, you actually pick a fake save before you start the game. So you have a choice between Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, and a few other games. And when it gets to that part of the game, Psycho Mantis actually reads it out. So it's not perfect, but I don't think they're gonna get the actor to record all these different lines for modern games. It would be cool. It would have been cool if Psycho Mantis would say like, "Oh, you've been playing Hogwarts Legacy." Like that would be pretty cool. But no, they got around it really well. I think though, for like a almost 30-year-old game, it's a really good port. Hopefully they'll improve on it more because again, that is the only one in the collection that doesn't have any upgrades at all. So when you play in it, it looks like it did on the original PlayStation, and it's dated, but I mean for its story and what that did for gaming, incredible. I will say this though, I started Metal Gear Solid 2 the other day, and that game is 4K now. And that game was already 60 frames per second. And let me tell you, I had the biggest smile on my face because I've played through Metal Gear Solid 2 so many times on the original on PlayStation 2, on the original Xbox, and on mainly on 360. I've played through Metal Gear Solid 2 HD collection, well, in the HD collection on my 360. I want to say 20 times. Like I love MGS 2 and 3. And they did Bloober Team. No, it wasn't Bloober Team. Logan, can you remember the name of the team that did the HD collection? Sony bought them.
Of oh, Blue Point.
Blue Point, right? Blue Point are the ones that did the HD collection back in 2012. And they did a
They're great.
fantastic job. HD collection, widescreen. Back then it was 720p, which was a huge jump from the original. But this now, it's native 4K, and it looks stunning. And I just had a smile on my face because I never thought I'd play Metal Gear Solid 2 that would just look this good. And if you play it on a Series S, I believe it's 1440p. At 60 frames per second, still looks great. But yeah, what can I say? If people are fans of Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 specifically, the new collection, is definitely worth it. The 4K jump is just such an improvement that I can see myself playing this for like another 20 times. I'm going to be replaying this game when I'm in my 80s, 90s, 100, And the other game I've been playing, and this is the big one, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I finally finished it. It is the best game that came out last year. Game of the year 2024. What can I say? Like, it's a travesty it didn't get the recognition it deserved at the Game Awards. Like you said, there should be a best, best male performance, best female performance at the Game Awards. Because Troy Baker knocked it out of the park. And I know we've probably talked about this about 20 times on the podcast, and I know everyone's talked about it online.
It's deserved.
Yeah, it's deserved. Like, he sounds exactly like Harrison Ford. And the most impressive part is that when Indiana Jones is reading like an ancient tablet in a different language, like he's reading Egyptian at one point, he still sounds like Harrison Ford. And for people that try and do impressions, if you try and sound like a specific person and saying something that person has never said, it's extremely difficult. Extremely. For reference, if I get extremely drunk, the Christopher Walken impression comes out. And let me tell you, it's not that good when I try and voice other lines that guy has not done in real life. This isn't the case. But incredible job. And it's an immersive sim. Like, that was the biggest surprise for me going into this game, because if you look at all the advertising, all the trailers, the deep dives and stuff, there's not an ounce of showing people that this is an immersive sim. And it blew me away. Machine Games absolutely nailed it. They nailed the feeling of the original trilogy of movies, because, look, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, let's be honest, it's not the best Indiana Jones film. And The Dial of Destiny, also not the best Indiana Jones film. But, like, it is on the level of the trilogy. Like, the humor, the action, everything about it, the acting across the board with all the characters, the locations are so different from each other. Like, Logan, did you get to the jungle area yet?
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm in the Siamese jungle right now.
Yeah, like, all the different areas just feel so different, and I think that's the strong part of that game, where, the Vatican feels like a closed off space, but there's so much to do, so many different side quests and collectibles, and then when you go to Giza, Egypt, it feels like a completely different place. It's completely open, and there's tons of different tombs and secrets, and then there's the fight clubs in each area, which most people don't even know are there, in each area. And the jungle section, going around on a boat, looking for different tombs, artifacts and stuff. Like, Machine Games made the best game of last year, and honestly, I think it might actually be one of my favorite games this generation. Like,
I mean, it's pretty daggum great. I haven't
yeah.
finished it yet, but I'm tending to agree with you.
And, like, I think Digital Foundry, they even put that as like their most impressive game technically last year, above Hellblade. And if you've played Hellblade, that game is photorealistic to the 10th degree. Like, it is beautiful. But there's something about Indiana Jones that just stands out. It looks amazing. Like, with the first-person perspective, there's so much detail on all the artifacts you pick up, and basically everything, that I might have to say it is actually more impressive than Hellblade, which is saying a lot. Now, fortunately, it did apparently do so good out of the joint that Disney called up Microsoft and said they want to do more games. Now, before this game came out, I was pleading Microsoft and Machine Games, can we get a new Wolfenstein? And now, I honestly don't care if they don't come out with a Wolfenstein game for a long time, because I want a sequel to this game. The second the credits started, I was like, I'm ready for a new adventure. Fortunately, we are getting a new adventure this year with the expansion. So we're going to see like that, and probably a deep dive at some point. But man, Indiana Jones, it's an incredible experience. They didn't have to do the immersive sim elements like they did, but they did, and they nailed it perfectly. And if this was just a straight up first person shooter, I don't think a lot of people would be giving it the attention it's getting now, because it took people by surprise. Having like all the immersive sim elements. Climbing in like Logan. You have to admit, like when they showed off that it was going to be first person this time last year, there was a lot of people freaking out, saying that an action adventure shouldn't be first person. And I was trying to tell people, like, it can work. The first person move was totally the right idea.
100%. Like they did it perfectly because there are for the vast majority person sections, and for the majority of the game that's what you do. But then there are also pieces where you're in third person, or traversing, or certain action sequences or whatever, to where you need to be able to see more of the environment or your character externally. So it makes sense the way they did it, and I 100% agree. I don't think this game would have stood out the way it does and felt as, quote, real, or like Indiana Jones 3.5, or, Indiana Jones 4, like we've always wanted, if it wasn't immersive. If it was just a, quote, generic action title or FPS kind of adventure game with an Indiana Jones just skin on it, I don't think they would get it. It's like they've gotten it down to like a T. Like it's like a Indiana Jones spiritual like experience.
Yeah.
Like it is down, like they have everything just completely accurate. The characters, the action, his humor, like there are certain scenes in there that I laugh out loud, like it is just hilarious, and he's like perfectly nailed Harrison Ford and the character Indiana Jones. And like you said, he's reading dead languages, and it sounds just like Harrison Ford. Or like characters like Gina, Father Antonio, Locust. Like I won't get too spoilery, but like these characters live and breathe and feel like right there with classic trilogy characters. Like yeah, oh yeah, I recognize these people. They fit right in, and like without a second thought. So it's truly a great honor for them to have created this, and I can't wait to see where they go next.
Yeah. I mean, I think the way forward for the Indiana Jones franchise, they just have to make more games. And like
Yeah,
whoever
Harrison Ford ain't getting younger.
Yeah, like as much as I would love to see Harrison Ford in another Indiana Jones film, a good one, uh he's like 80 years old now. I don't think he wants to be like doing these stunts or even being on like on a set doing these things, because he could get hurt. But if you do a video game, you get Troy Baker on the scene. They could do something really good. But for this is their first outing with an Indiana Jones game, and that's probably the most impressive part, because they've gone from hardcore first person shooters to immersive sim action adventure game. Like that's such a jump. And the funny thing is, you can play through Indiana Jones without using a gun. Like there's
I
no
actually hate the guns in
yeah,
the game.
and I think
Straight up,
yeah,
like I just prefer punching.
yeah, and I think what they've done is kind of genius, because you play that game and you don't want to use a gun, because the controls for the gun is fairly simplistic, and if you watch any of the Indiana Jones films, he uses the pistol sometimes. He's an archaeologist, right? So he has no reason to be a marksman with any of these like rifles. So what they've done is they've made it feel like how you would be like Indiana Jones in real life, and that just works so good. So you can play this game from start to finish without using a gun. Like there's moments when you're being chased, or there's like maybe one set piece when you kind of have to on a vehicle, but outside of that, you don't have to use one. And I think that was genius, because before this came out, people were just expecting a first-person shooter, a Call of Duty or a Wolfenstein style campaign, 7 hours long, 8 hours long, and I think I did it in about 42 hours. I'll have to double check, but like that game has an insane amount of replayability. The side quests are fun. The collectibles are actually worth it because a lot of the collectibles actually enhance Indiana Jones's abilities. So you can increase, health. There's different perks for, different kinds of punches and stuff. There's grapples. And I played through that entire game from start to finish without realizing I could grapple other characters. So, like, when I do a replay or do the expansion that comes out this year, I'm going to be able to play this game in different ways, which I love. But yeah, props to the team, Machine Games, Game of the Year 2024, and hopefully at the Game Awards this year, it does get some recognition. Unfortunately, it's going to be going up against games like GTA 6. Who knows? And we've talked about this on the show before. My excitement for GTA 6 diminishes every month. Like, how can this game possibly live up to my expectations? But hopefully this year, anyway, it gets its recognition because, again, incredible game. Anyway, that's what we've been playing. It's been a good week for games. Let's get into all the juicy news because it's actually been a good week for news. Now, we'll talk about this quickly because the video game price situation seems to be a never-ending topic. And we're talking about this earlier today on Boomstick's show. And we all in agreement, like, people have to call this out. Like, for some reason in video gaming, people are willing to go out their way saying, hey, I'll pay this much for this game. I'll pay, $100 for Grand Theft Auto 6. And that's, like, really encouraging these, publishers. Like, I've heard, not naming names, I've heard from people at certain publishers that they are waiting for Rockstar Take-Two to make the jump. You see in the news all the time, hey, how would you feel about games going up to $100? Now, in the US, those games are already $70, so these publishers are hoping this £30 or $30 increase is, justifiable, which is crazy to me because no game is worth that. I've made a meme about it the other day. Like, no game is worth $80, $90, £100. Like, if you buy in a game and you get maybe a digital deluxe version where it has a bunch of skins, maybe an expansion, then I'm completely okay with it, right? But if you tell me this base game that has microtransactions and it's going to be $100 or $80, it's not worth it. And remember, GTA 6 is going to be one of those games where it has shark cards. Shark cards ruined GTA Online for me because people could go in with their wallet and basically buy the ability to get the hover bike that shoots missiles, right? Ruined the online experience for me. And that's basically when I stopped playing. And I was a GTA Online addict. For new people listening, I was literally addicted to GTA Online to the point where I used to think about playing GTA Online when I wasn't playing it. I used to think about what I'm going to do when I played the game. So when the game came out to Xbox One, I literally played that game a lot. And then after about a year, I realized I'm losing time, I'm losing sleep to this game. So I literally deleted it, and I'm kind of over it. I don't play GTA Online anymore. It was a bad experience for me. That sounds really bad saying it out loud, but literally, it was an addictive thing for me. It was kind of scary, really. But it's like that game is a money pit for people. The way they do the expansions, they encourage people to pay real money for, like these businesses in the game. It's an awful. Like, Logan, did you ever play GTA Online?
Nope, I had zero interest whatsoever. Just being straightforward, I had zero interest in it.
Yeah. I mean, I can't blame you. The fact they put a casino in the game is like irony beyond belief. like literally, you put a casino in the game, and bear in mind, it was GTA Online. It's the reason we don't have single player expansions for Grand Theft Auto 5. Originally, we were going to get like 8 expansions. So there's an alternate
I'm
reality.
salty about that.
Yeah, a lot of people should be as well because in an alternate reality, We were getting a single player expansion for GTA almost every year till 6 came out. That is disgusting. like like I don't buy microtransactions, never have, never will. And Rockstar, they've only gotten the money off me for Grand Theft Auto on 360 and with the Xbox One version. I refused to buy the next gen version. It should have been a free upgrade. They charged full price for it in the UK. Disgusting. And by the way, that game is always top of the charts in the UK. And one of the reasons why that is, and why they've sold so many copies, is because they do these bundles where you could buy the game at a discounted price and you also get a shark card with it. Maybe it's like a £20 shark card or something. So they encourage people to buy multiple copies of the same game. So when you see, like, in the news, Rockstar sells 250 million copies of Grand Theft Auto 5, they've sold that many copies. But let me tell you, there's not that many people playing the game. A lot of people own multiple copies. It's a disgusting thing people do. But anyway, back to game prices. It's a slippery slope, and where a lot of publishers are looking at Rockstar, hoping this to happen. Maybe GTA can get away with it, but let me tell you, the next Batman Arkham game, the next Alien Isolation 2, when that comes out, I will not pay $100 for that game at all. And these companies, they literally do a one-to-one price conversion with just a number. So if a game is $70, they charge us £70. £70 is $85, right? So I'm not paying a penny more. And hopefully, and I'm speaking to mainly people in the US, because you guys actually have the power to do this, there's enough of you to be vocal about this to the point where the publishers won't do it. Why do you think video game consoles went up in price in the UK, Australia, Europe, Japan over the past 2 years? It's because they can get away with it. People weren't vocal enough. These publishers or console manufacturers didn't have the gonads to actually go out there and charge more for consoles in the US. And good on you.
Because they'd have people would tear them a new one
Yeah.
if they tried that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it all started with the Oculus Rift or whatever it's called, the MetaQuest something. And they said, hey, we're going to start charging $100 more. People, or like $100 more. And like, people lost their minds, right? And then it happened in the UK. And then the console manufacturers start doing it. But they didn't do this in the US because you guys would have tore them a new one. So like, when it comes to price, I'm just putting it out there. Don't float the idea around of saying, hey, I'd buy this game at $100. Don't let them think that. Gaming is the only industry where people want to flex on how much they spend on the hobby, or like they want to spend more. And that is a bad habit, because let me tell you, I've never once heard a single person say, you know what, I want to pay more for cinema tickets. I've never once heard anyone say that. I want to pay more to go to the theatre. I want to pay more to get this like 4K Blu-ray. Nobody on earth has ever said that. But it's just gaming. It's just gaming that this happens, and it annoys the hell out of me. I've been rambling for like 20 minutes about this price stuff. Logan, what's your take? Because it's like a never-ending cycle, and I feel like it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like I I went off last week about what I really thought about that idea of, $100 games. And, you know, just to be blunt, the idea of it being a flex to pay more for a game or anything for that matter is ridiculous. Like it it's not the flex you think it is. Like I'm not a cheap person at all. Like I like the finer things in life. I like, bougie stuff. Like I like if name brands, I like the, 4K, the best I can get. But I'm also smart and, you know, frugal about it when I can be. Like if I can wait a little bit and get it on sale, or I can, get it at a better price somewhere else without sacrificing quality or something sketchy, or, it's like legit, good stuff. Like I'll do that. Like I I don't think there's it makes no sense to me, the idea of like, well, I'm just gonna pay, this big price because, I want to make a statement that, I pay full price and I'm that guy, pal, and y'all are cheap or this like no, that's ridiculous. Like no legit, big roller is gonna be thinking that way. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. And the sad thing is, every time I bring this up on Twitter, usually on Twitter, I always get like a reply from like a gaming journalist, and it's happened again this past week. And they do the same thing every single time. But what about game prices in the 90s? Like, we can't really keep going to that. Like, yes, game prices in the 90s were absurd because cartridges cost a crap ton to make. like they
And there
cost.
were
Yeah,
way less developers, all kinds of stuff.
yeah. And like the weight of a cartridge in a box being manufactured in several different factories, then shipped to a store on a truck using fuel, cost way more than people buying a game digitally while they sat at home on the behind hitting the download button. Right? It's not the same world back as it was back then. So like people keep bringing up the 90s. It really annoys the hell out of me. And I just want people to be more vocal about it because, and again, this might be my tinfoil hat moment. I 100% believe that these analysts, I'm doing air quotes for people that can't see me, I 100% think that these analysts keep floating the idea out to the public so we get used to it. And when it happens, we all kind of go, we knew it was happening anyway. It's crazy. It's crazy town out there. Like these publishers are going to try and get away with it because if they change the prices up to $80, let's say this year, do you know what happens next year or the year after? It's $90.
85.
Yeah,
Yeah.
85. Like hell, in the UK, game prices went up from £37 to 50, and then to 55, and then 60, and now with this generation, 70. It's absurd. And these companies, they want to get away with it. They're looking at Rockstar, and yeah, just wanted to bring it up because I've heard, I'm not naming names, but I've heard on multiple podcasts like they've said like, oh, I would pay $100 for a God of War game or $100 for a Grand Theft Auto. Like, no, stop it, stop trying to flex this stuff. Like 10,000, yeah, £10,000. Like I've joked in the past, and this was before like Mass Effect Legendary Edition came out. Like I would have paid over £100 for a remaster, but realistically, I wouldn't, right? Because I think gaming is too expensive as a hobby as it is, and yeah, I'm just not having it. I'm just not having it. Like hell, I think like the most I've ever spent on a video game that wasn't a collector's edition, I think might have actually been the Star Wars Jedi Survivor Deluxe Edition, which came with the the lightsabers and the Luke Skywalker jacket. That's pretty much it. I think that's the most I've ever spent on a digital game that didn't come with a statue. But yeah, this is a weird hobby where people feel the need to flex online. I've seen it today. I've seen it yesterday. I see it every bloody day, and it annoys the hell out of me because this
It's
hobby.
not a flex.
Yeah, it annoys the hell out of me because this hobby, it can crash. The crashes happened in the US in the 80s. It can happen again for a different reason, and I don't know. I just want people to be more vocal about. No, I don't want prices to go up. Because again, I live in the UK. Prices of consoles went up, and console manufacturers got away with it, and everyone just kind of went shrug. Okay, like what a weird generation, by the way. What a weird generation. Because back in my day, making me sound like an old fart. Back in my day, a console went down in price over the entire generation. This time, nope. Like it's
We go up, actually.
yeah, like it's actually crazy. Like back in the seventh generation, and we're going down memory lane once again with this talk. With the 360 that came out in the UK, I want to say it was £300. I'll have to check, but like over the course of the generation, the price of that console dropped significantly. I remember, I think the Xbox 360 Elite with 120 gigabytes, which at the time seemed like endless storage. If I remember correctly, that cost significantly less than the launch version But yeah, just
It
what
did.
yeah.
It did here anyway. Yeah.
But like I don't know, it's just weird, and we have consoles coming around the corner. People are saying that next generation's going to cost 700, even though people can't justify the price. Like, honestly, if you're going to spend that much on gaming, you may as well just buy a PC. Like, get yourself a fancy graphics card, fancy monitor, all that stuff, and just go full on PC gaming, because console gaming is meant to be more affordable, simplistic, and now, I don't know. I could talk about price all day. Anyway, Grand Theft Auto. If people talk about Grand Theft Auto Online, just do not mention I want to pay this much or I'm willing to pay. Like, yes, you have these huge Twitch streamers which they've said out loud, yeah, I'd pay $100, $150, but like the average consumer should not be saying this online, because these publishers, they search online, they see what people are saying, they basically use social media as a focus group, and they're gonna do that with prices. And like, look at how quiet Rockstar's been about Grand Theft Auto. Could it be because of the leaks? Yes, absolutely. But like, I'm 100% certain that they are wanting to see what they could price this game at, because the second that new trailer drops and it has a release date, there's going to be a pre-order page, and then we'll see the price. That's going to be the day we all know, crap, prices are going up. Or maybe we're fortunate enough to the point where it's going to be a pre-order page and it just says $70. I have a feeling that's not going to happen. Like, Logan, what's your feeling on the prices of it actually going up? Because it's going to be them that dictate it.
If I had to make an educated guess, I would say that the base version is 70 and they have $100 edition that either comes with some extra skins or goodies, or like a $30 equivalent of like shark cards or whatever the new currency is. That's kind of my guess of what they'll do. Hopefully, they don't try this bull of $100 for a base game, because like I don't care what anybody says. No company on this earth, no gaming studio should have the balls to try that. $100 for just a base game. Like, just wait them out until it's on sale, inevitably in a few months, because that's just ridiculous for a base game. If it comes with other stuff, okay, we can talk, but base game, no.
Yeah. And one of the reasons why this game price thing really annoyed me is that how many times the games come out and they're broken day one, or they need a
GTA,
yeah,
speaking of which, was
yeah,
garbage.
yeah. Like Grand Theft Auto 5 for me on 360, that was buggy to hell. I fell through the map the first day, and like that game got a pass. But like so many games come out bugs. Like, remember Assassin's Creed Unity, the no face bug? Like,
Oh yeah, or the Ezio trilogy, and their eyes were
yeah,
just like terrifying.
yeah, like, and I love the Ezio collection. I play it a lot, but like, you could be walking around Italy in that game, and you see some horrifying faces. Like, it is horrifying. It's nightmare material.
Yeah.
But like, that was just like endless bugs. Like, and it annoys the hell out of me, because like, developers have told me like we should expect prices to go up. Like, again, I won't mention the developer. I don't even think I've talked about this story. When Battlefield 2042 came out, it had broken netcode beyond belief, to the point where you couldn't actually like get hit detection on people that were standing right in front of you. It was
It
awful.
did not have a scorecard too.
Yeah. Oh, I can go on about this, right? So when the game launched, it was a multiplayer PvP game that didn't have a scoreboard. There was no leaderboard, which sounds a bit weird if you think about it, because it's a PvP team-based game where you can't see who's at the top of each team, who's made the most captures, who's made the most eliminations. You couldn't see any of that. It wasn't information that was just given to you. So they released a competitive first-person shooter that wasn't competitive, and it was just completely broken. The map design was awful. people fell through the map. Oh yeah, the vehicles didn't have collision with buildings, so you could pilot a jet and just bounce off the ground and the walls of buildings and stuff, and nothing would happen. And I remember one of the developers was asked, I'm not even kidding, was asked like, "Do you think there's a chance we could get more guns added?" Because Battlefield 2042 doesn't really have many guns, and this developer asked like, "Oh well, maybe down the line, but you're gonna have to pay for it." And I just shook my head because that was a full price game. It didn't have a campaign, no co-op zombies mode or anything like that. It was just a straight up PvP $70 game, broken at launch. And this person was just asking if we can get more guns, and he just came out and said you'd have to pay more down the line. And it just like that really got to me because these developers, they just look at us like numbers. Or should I say publishers? I'll just say publishers. But they look at us as numbers, money pits. And it's a shame because, this past decade, I want to say, I've seen so many games broken at launch. Sometimes go months without being fixed. And, you do have your redemption stories. Like No Man's Sky, they turned that whole thing around. It's an excellent game now. It's way more than they actually originally promised now. Cyberpunk 2077 was fixed in 2022, and that game's came a long way. And to the point now where people look at Cyberpunk and say it's one of the best RPGs in a long time. Came a long way. Witcher 3, it was buggy at launch, but passable. And, they fixed that game up, and it's a masterpiece in my opinion. But, like, if we're being told game prices should go up again, we have to demand more. We have to demand better because broken games day one, single player games with battle passes, like really, like I've got Suicide Squad gameplay going on during the show, and that has a battle pass. Why does it have a battle pass? If I pay for a single player game, do I not get all of the outfits for my character? Apparently not. I don't care what people say. That's actually a fun game. The gameplay is actually fun. But like just battle passes in general and full price games, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. I don't know. I blame also that these black hole games they call them. The Fortnites, the Apexes, these free to play games where you have these millions of people just that's all they play. They sink money into it. Us the hardcore, we will buy single player games full price, and we'll buy multiple a year, dozens even. And I look at these publishers, they look at us like this, like, hey, these people, they're not contributing to our microtransaction fund. Let's put this crap in the games they like. And it's happening. I don't know. I hate it. I hate the gaming industry at the minute. It's like, and I say that as someone that runs a gaming channel. But yeah, $60 games, $70 games, like that should be the max, like not a penny more. Anyway, we'll move on. And thank God for Game Pass, by the way, because there's so many good games coming to the service soon. I mean, Eternal Strands launched today. Fun game, by the way. I've been playing it. You have Sniper Elite Resistance that drops, I think, in 2 days. So many people save so much money through Game Pass that the threat of these prices going up, I mean, thank God for that service. Anyway, we'll move on. You know what, Logan, you want to talk about this quickly, and I think we might actually have some positive things to say about it, even though it does sound pretty negative. So there was going to be Halo content brought to Call of Duty. I know you know more about this, Logan, so what's going on with that?
Yeah, apparently there was this from multiple Call of Duty content creators. They've put out some stuff that apparently there was an extensive collaboration that was planned originally for Modern Warfare 3 that would have featured classic Halo maps and gear in some multiplayer modes for Call of Duty. It would have been a crossover. And, it sounds awesome. I think it would have been awesome, but for whatever reason, it fell through and they stopped it. And you add this to some stuff that came out a few months ago about that there was supposed to be some Halo, Gears of War, and Doom stuff for Modern Warfare 3. They went ahead with the Doom, but not the Gears and the Halo, and that apparently that the Gears and Halo stuff was actually getting rerouted to a different Call of Duty down the line. And you take this with that, I think that adds more credence to the idea. And I at first you get mad because you're like, come on, man, this would have been awesome. This would have been like free crossover, just exposure would have been really cool. But the more I think about it, the more I think this is actually getting just, it's not, like going away permanently. I think it's probably going to show up in a different Call of Duty multiplayer, one that people are more enthusiastic about. So, I mean, fingers crossed, but if it is for sure just gone, it's another bummer. For some reason, they are being very skittish about Halo crossover ideas right now, even though a lot of people really like the idea. So, something to think about, Microsoft, if you're listening. People actually do want Halo crossovers.
Yeah, I have a theory about that, by the way. So when Black Ops 6 came out, they completely changed the movement system, and I actually loved the
Mhm.
omnidirectional movement. It's incredible. You can use it in the campaign and zombies and all that stuff. And it completely changes how maps play out. So my theory is that they don't want to put Halo maps or Halo style maps in Call of Duty till they remove omnidirectional movement, because Infinity Ward apparently do not like it. So their game is going to be 2026, and I have a
Mhm.
feeling that they are going to remove omnidirectional movement, because I think like the way omnidirectional movement works now, I can't imagine working pretty well with like basically any Halo map at all. So that's just my theory, because it looks like they may change the movements again. But one of the other reasons why I think that as well is that there's certain things that just don't work in Call of Duty at the minute. Uh,
Mhm.
so like, and by the way, if people I might just record it at some point, when I get my capture card set up. But like, you should hear how I swear playing Call of Duty, mainly Warzone Resurgence.
Sound like a 12-year-old sailor.
Basically,
Yeah.
yeah. And let me tell you, fell in love with Call of Duty Warzone Resurgence. That is such a fun multiplayer mode. But the second Black Ops 6 came out, they changed all the weapons and items to Black Ops weapons. And I am swearing more than I have in my entire life, because those weapons are bad for Call of Duty Warzone Resurgence. The items are terrible. So like, I'm just thinking with the Halo stuff, they don't want to have things that maybe don't work together really well, because again, the omnidirectional movement works really well in the existing Warzone maps, but the items themselves are just trash trash fire. Absolutely awful. I could rant about it all day. The game isn't fun anymore when it comes to Warzone Resurgence. I don't know what they were thinking, but you know, we'll see what happens with Halo down the road. Just thought we'd bring it up because, like, Call of Duty is in a weird place at the minute, because I think with Black Ops 6, they did a phenomenal job with the campaign. A lot, basically across the board, everyone loves the campaign. The zombies, I haven't really gotten to play it yet because I can't really schedule play time for it. But like the multiplayer, I've had fun with. Warzone Resurgence, they ruined it with the weapons. So like, they've got a good product there. I just think it's weird because there's a lot of eyes on Marvel Rivals, and that's basically an Overwatch competitor, which has gotten the casual crowd over, which I never thought we'd see, because Overwatch has always been popular, but I think like the main like first person shooter audience, they just stick to Call of Duty and that's it. And I think for the first time ever, there's something that isn't Call of Duty that's getting the casuals when it comes to a shooter that isn't Fortnite. But yeah, it's a weird time for the first person shooter scene, because there's so many different games out at the minute, and I think maybe throwing in Halo content into Call of Duty, that might just confuse people. Gamers are fickle. You'll never know. But yeah, just thought I'd bring that up. But mm. My God, just even thinking about the Black Ops weapons in Call of Duty Warzone Resurgence is actually making my blood boil. Like, what were they
Add
thinking?
an energy
Like,
sword and
oh
a
no,
pump action shotgun.
yeah, I'll
Uh,
have a little rant. You know why not? I I spent about 12 years, 11 years not playing Call of Duty multiplayer, right? To the point where my gameplay, I'm not even kidding, it looks like my cat may as well be playing. Like, absolute awful gameplay. And yeah, I've been trying to get back into the habit of playing Call of Duty again. And I finally find a weapon that I can use in Call of Duty Warzone Resurgence that's mine, that's specifically mine, right? And what happens with Black Ops 6 when they put the weapons in? That gun I like isn't in the game anymore. The attachments I like aren't in the game anymore. So I have to get used to these new weapons that I don't like with items that I don't like. It's like, is there a Claymore anymore? No, it's this spring mine thing that just no. I don't know what they were thinking. I really I really hope they like change the Warzone Resurgence weapons back to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 because it just doesn't work. I know I'm ranting. I'm a bit angry because again, I'm trying to get good at Call of Duty again, and then they change everything. Like I could cry. Anyway, we'll move on. You know, we got some good news. Literally 2 hours ago, the Xbox Series S is finally getting split screen for Baldur's Gate 3. Now, it doesn't sound like big news, but it actually is because apparently this is going to be one of the big or one of the final updates for Baldur's Gate 3 because the team's moving on to other things. Apparently, they're moving on to a new IP, allegedly. So, like, good luck to them. I'm sure it's going to be great. But this has been the biggest feature that people have been wanting for a long time. There's a lot of Series S owners out there. So it looks like people that have been waiting for a year plus, it's finally coming. They're going to be testing it out and then rolling out the full update. I think in the coming months. It's also going to get a photo mode, which I know a lot of people have been asking for. And there's also going to be 12 subclasses added to the game. They've added a ridiculous amount of content and updates. So yeah, if you've been waiting on Series S for split screen, it's coming. And the little Series S that could, like, people like to hate on that console, but it was a good idea Microsoft put that out because again, it's an affordable console in a time when everything's going up in price. But yeah, Baldur's Gate, good news. Logan, what do you think? Because that was the one thing people were really needing on Xbox with, Series S actually having compatibility.
Yeah, I'm happy for everyone that as a Series S they finally get to have the full experience. I know more mod support is coming for the game, a whole bunch of other stuff. Like personally for me, like I won't be playing it because I can't. For some reason, ever since that time it deleted my 40 plus hours save
Oh yeah, I
where I
remember.
was almost on the verge of Act 3. It will not let me play the game. I have even tried workarounds like on cloud and everything to where it will load 97% of the game to start and then crash in the last 3%. And it won't let me play the game. So that's just 80 something dollars down the drain for that edition and the 40 plus hours I spent on it. Wish I could finish it, but I guess it wasn't meant to be. But I'm happy for those who can.
Have you tried playing the game offline?
I'm not sure I have, but I could try that, I guess.
Because I had a bug once. I can't remember what game it was. I think it might have been Red Dead Redemption 2, one of my earlier saves. I couldn't get the game to work, so I had to. I made my console go offline. I start playing and I opened up a new save, and then I made the console go online while I was playing, and then I was able to play it. So
Okay, I'll try that workaround because like I did love the game and I was
yeah,
thoroughly enjoying it, obviously. But it just I was like, come on, man.
yeah. I mean, I get it. It's soul crushing when you lose a save. I think it was Yakuza 0. I lost 42 hours of progress. Like,
Yeah, I'd be not happy about that.
yeah, and for a 42-hour game that I played that was 100% in Japanese, I just wanted to walk in front of like an oncoming train. Um, but yeah, I get it. I hopefully that'll fix it then. But yeah, if people listening, if you have a Series S, looks like that stuff's coming. And by the way, that developer, they've been pretty open with mods. I think you also get mods on console now. A lot of publishers seem to be looking at opening up their RPGs with mods. I know
It's
Hog.
smart business.
Oh yeah, like Hogwarts Legacy. They did a little showcase I think 2 days ago. That's getting mod support on PC with a huge suite of things. Now that isn't on console, but I have a feeling they'll add the assets down the line for the console version because the console version alone sold millions, so that'll work. I will say this: all these other developers seem to be open to the idea of mods. Rockstar has no fun whatsoever. Like,
Oh, it fits the brand,
yeah,
100%.
yeah. So for people that don't know, bit of a tangent. Um, so in the past week or two, the Liberty City mod for Grand Theft Auto 5, Rockstar have pulled it. People aren't allowed to use it anymore. The next gen mod for Grand Theft Auto Vice City, the one with third person aim and really like shiny graphics and stuff. Yeah, they've pulled that as well. So all these other publishers are coming out saying, "Hey, these mods advance the game. They let people like have more like longevity to a game they love." And then you have Rockstar coming out basically DMCAing people and like will it like take people to court over just mods? Crazy. Like Fallout 4 got tons of mods. Starfield, like there's a mod for Starfield, and I believe it was actually made by Bethesda. It's Doom content for Starfield.
Yep.
Like I haven't played it yet, but it looks really cool, especially if you're a Doom fan and you obviously have Starfield. But yeah, Rockstar, uh, slimy company. What can I say?
Take Two
Yeah,
as a whole, like I remember your BC videos and stuff to where they wouldn't let you get certain recordings of certain games that they had uploaded, for 360 and OG for backwards compat. Like a whole most everybody else lets you record clips and gameplay of those games. But for some reason a whole bunch of theirs had some issues.
yeah. I'm actually happy you mentioned that because that really annoyed me. So, like, for people that don't know, like, I put out top list videos, and occasionally there's Rockstar content in there. Well, when I made a backwards compatible video, I think it was for most wanted games to be made backwards compatible. I used a 15-second clip from a Max Payne trailer from 2011, and Rockstar copyright claimed the entire video. The entire video, over 15 seconds. And I tried reversing the clip. It didn't work. Tried moving it, everything. I couldn't get it done, so I had to use screenshots. They've copyright claimed my own gameplay. So, like, for people that watch the podcast, you may notice there's barely none. No Rockstar content, no Red Dead Redemption. Well, Red Dead Redemption seems to be okay, but like Grand Theft Auto 5 gameplay or 6, I don't use any of it because Rockstar and Take Two, they just copyright claim everything. And it's bizarre because I've worked with Ubisoft on videos, EA, Square Enix even, Embracer, Microsoft, hell, even Sony, right? They all let you use their footage. Perfectly fine, within reason. But Rockstar, they just don't care. I mean, hell, this is how unfan-centric Rockstar games are, right? So Ubisoft, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, they all do this where if someone does fan art and they post it online and let's say it's really good, they might retweet it, right? So a while ago, Rockstar Games retweeted it was like a beautiful drawing of the main character from Red Dead Redemption 2, Arthur Morgan. It was like pinpoint accurate. And Rockstar retweeted this, and basically the tweet said, "Oh, this Rockstar Games Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the best games ever made." And then underneath it said, "I hope we get single player DLC." And then Rockstar Games, yeah, Rockstar Games, like I think it was a few hours later, someone must have notified someone in the office because they undid the retweet and that person got blocked apparently. So like Rockstar Games, they just don't care.
These are the guys who won $100, by the way. So
Yeah,
yeah, just something to think about.
and Red Dead Redemption 2 sold over 50 million copies. No single player content. Didn't have enough online support to get actual Red Dead Redemption online content outside of like a few missions. But for some reason, this episode has turned into me ranting about Rockstar. I might as well just change the title of the show. By the way, I'm gonna whine about Rockstar games. Anyway, so that's Baldur's Gate 3 with Series S stuff. Really cool times. You know what? I've been talking for an hour. If people are enjoying the show, if you enjoy it, please like, share, and subscribe. I hate doing these little ads, but it really does help the channel grow, all that stuff. If you want to support the channel with super chats, it's greatly appreciated. It helps the channel grow. I've got a bunch of content coming. Anyway, Logan, this past week we had the Developer Direct. I will get this out the way first because this is my bad. On people's Xbox dashboards, there was an image floating around for the Developer Direct, which made it look like there was going to be 9 games there. It was just how they designed the image. So the whole thing kicked off the Developer Direct. They announced the secret game, and that is Ninja Gaiden 4, made by Platinum Games. Now, that was completely out of nowhere, because everyone assumed that Platinum Games and Microsoft weren't really buddy-buddy after the whole Scalebound thing, and Microsoft caught all of the flack for years. They clearly working together, and with Team Ninja, and the trailer was shown off. It looked really good. By the way, everything they shown was to be launched in Game Pass. So brand new, shiny game coming this year. And they ended off that segment by announcing a remake, 1-to-1 remake, for Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. Now, before we continue with all this stuff, I want to talk about our experience with playing Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. So, I haven't played Ninja Gaiden in maybe 17 years, maybe 16 years. So, it's been a while. I'm rusty beyond belief. So rusty. So, I'm expected to be crap, and I understand that. However, it's been that long. I'm awful. But I will say this, the game is gorgeous. It's Unreal Engine 5, full-on 1-to-1 remake. Literally, it might actually be one of the best-looking games this generation. So much detail. However, there's a slight problem, and a lot of people have this problem, is that the camera. This has to be the worst camera in the history of video games. Like,
It sucks. It's awful.
so when you play Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, when you hit X or Y for a light or heavy attack, the character kind of lunges towards an enemy, right? That's how Ninja Gaiden has basically always played. However, the camera moves in and out and from side to side and basically does its own thing. So if people suffer from epilepsy, you might have a hard time playing this because like they have this really cool game, but the camera is awful. Like awful. Like Logan, I know you want to talk about this quickly. Like, what was your experience with Ninja Gaiden 2 Black?
I'm loving it, but goodness gracious, I was rusty. Because I went in there like I've played Ninja Gaidens before, so I'm familiar with it and knew it's tough. There's combos you string together, hyper violent, hyper visualized, really fun characters and different weapons, abilities, monsters, like action gameplay. This is not a Souls-like game.
No.
People saying it's a Souls-like game must be of a newer generation
Yeah.
or have not played these because these are action hardcore games that came out like these are like massacre games. Like they're just so brutally difficult that from before Dark Souls was even a dream. And like it used to be these were the titles, this, Battletoads, stuff like that. Like put hair on your chest. Like, I beat this and like, that's my game cred, basically. So going in, it's like, yeah, I know it's gonna be tough again, but man, like I'm having to relearn all the combos and the abilities to proper pacing, all that. Plus, I have this absolutely neurotic camera that is just audacious. Like patch one, please, Ninja Team, please fix the camera or have camera options in patch one whenever that comes out because it seems to be near universal disdain for this camera I've seen online. So it's not just you and me that are not fans of this camera. But overall, the graphics are just they're just unseemly gorgeous. It is ridiculous how great this game looks in Unreal Engine 5. And it was a looker on the
Yeah.
360, when it came out and even got X, like it ended up with Xbox One X enhancements, I remember, when it first hit BC back in the day.
Yeah.
So, this is the best experience for this game, and if you want to play the other ones, highly recommend Ninja Gaiden Black, the first one, which is on sale right now for $4.99. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge for Lunar Sale. Get it if you want to. It's the best version of that game because the one they have in the collection isn't Ninja Gaiden Black. It's like a revised version that's just not the same.
Yeah.
And so Ninja Gaiden Black, and then Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, and then Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. Basically, it's a tweaked version in the collection for that, or you get Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge as is. It's not a huge leap like it is between the other ones. So, loving it. It was such a cool shadow drop.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of ninjas, for that to happen day one, and I'm just loving it, and I cannot wait to beat this. Gonna jump into Metal Gear Revengeance because it's made by Platinum and it's more ninja stuff, and I kind of want to compare notes to between this and Revengeance, and kind of get an idea in my head more of what Ninja Gaiden 4 is going to play like. Because the idea of Platinum working with them is not something I ever would have considered, but I love it.
Yeah. I mean, now that you mention it, Metal Gear Revengeance basically looked like that. I mean, hell of a game to copy, your own work. But yeah, Ninja Gaiden 4 looked fantastic. Launches later this year. The camera, I'll reiterate, like it isn't like the Devil May Cry camera. It's worse. It's worse. In fact, the Devil May Cry 5 camera is okay, but this is like a whole other level of awful. But the good thing is they can patch it, right? I've seen games come out completely broken and been fixed. This is just a camera. That's the only thing they have to fix. But yeah, cool game. And this game has full dismemberment, where the original didn't have that. Like this is a pretty grim game.
It's brute.
Yeah, it's brutal. Again, try not to swear, but yeah, hell of a game. So yeah, that was basically the shadow drop, which is huge. And by the way, those two things, I know Ninja Gaiden did kind of like in general, but nobody knew this was coming. So I think this just goes to show that Microsoft, they can keep some things secret, which is great news. Next up, they showed off, let's see, Clair Obscure Expedition 33. I think, we've been talking about this game for the longest time. I think it's one of the coolest looking games in years. It's a very refreshing RPG. The way to describe it is that it's a Western RPG made by a French developer in the style of a JRPG. And
Yep.
it just works. It looks fantastic. I mean, the art style, the enemies, they actually showed off this game has an overworld or a world map. I can't remember the last game I played that had a world map. It's been a long time. So they're bringing back some traditional stuff from JRPGs, which I love. And for people that don't like turn-based combat, give this a chance because With a turn-based RPG, you can literally just sit down and play this game with one hand. You don't have to think about anything. Eat a sandwich with one hand, play the game the other. Turn-based games can be super fun. And it also has action commands during combat, much like Lost Odyssey or Persona sometimes. But yeah, the game looks fantastic. Basically, you have a bunch of huge actors in the game. You have Ben Starr, who was in Final Fantasy 16. You have my God, I forgot his name. The guy that plays Daredevil. Damn.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name though.
Yeah, so he's playing the main character in the game. Also, Andy Serkis is in the game. Now, Andy Serkis has been in a bunch of games in the past. He clearly likes the industry, so like his voice work, like everyone's saying Lord of the Rings, right? His voice work is going to be great. But yeah, this game launches in Game Pass day one in I think it was April 23rd. Um, it looks phenomenal. Like it's one of my most anticipated games, and it's a weird, dark fantasy game, but it's kind of got this like alternate like Renaissance France look to it. It looks super cool. Logan, what's your take on it? Because I know you've been looking forward to this game a lot as well.
Yeah, it's super cool. Like this was one of my highlights of the show. Like I loved every title that was there. Every title's one I want to play day one and play, and they all look really good. This one in particular, though, was one I had, before we knew Ninja Gaiden for sure was going to be there. This was the one I was most looking forward to seeing, and it's just it really scratches that Lost Odyssey itch
Yeah,
for me because for whatever reason, we've never gotten a sequel or a remake, a remaster, a continuation of some sort. Like it's a masterpiece. I love that game. One of the most emotionally impactful, best stories, best experiences I've ever had in a game. Just bar none. It's fantastic. And this it feels like that, and even like the turn-based combat like in um Lost Odyssey, like you remember you had the rings and the certain things you could do in combat that would allow more fluidity and action kind of involvement more than a traditional JRPG that was turn based. And like they've adapted that and expanded it more. I love the, you know, Western RPG mixed with JRPG hybridization kind of thing. Kind of like how what is it? Dragon's Dogma is basically like a Japanese take on the Western
yeah,
RPG. How this is basically a Western take on the JRPG. And I really like it. It's super cool. Like it's going to be such an emotional, character heavy, I bet heart wrenching story is kind of my guess from the way it's being set up. And the characters look awesome. It's beautiful. The soundtrack is sublime. The characters, the gameplay, the open world map. Like, yeah, that gave me, Final Fantasy VII vibes, with the open over the map look and you're walking around as this character or flying around as this giant balloon dude who's just super happy to be there, I guess. He's hilarious. And I'm excited for this one. Cannot wait.
yeah, that looked good, and that comes out in April. Um, Next up we have South of Midnight. I mean, the developers have been showing off that game. I want to say a lot over the past 2 months. A lot of
Mhm.
gameplay on Twitter, a lot of platforming, a lot of boss battles. It looks like a very focused game. It's a linear action adventure game. Um, I think that game looks fantastic. Like it is. Let's see. Oh yeah, it's a 12-hour game. You can turn off the stop motion stuff, so if that bothers people, I quite like it. It's something different. I just love the art style, and I'm not really familiar with like the deep south stuff in the US, but I think it's actually really interesting. There's huge boss battles. I mean, it's what you'd expect from a single player action adventure with magic and powers. But hey, it looks super cool. I mean, that game comes out in, let me see, April as well. Day one on Game Pass, obviously. Um, I think it looks fantastic. Like I've seen a lot of people complain about it on Twitter, but I really don't get the problem. Uh, you know, people seem to be awful on Twitter over everything for some reason, but I think the game
Mhm.
looks fun. I think we all knew that game was kind of coming soon, but April isn't that far away. Logan, what was your take on South of Midnight? Because personally, I think it looks fantastic. Just people online can be awful.
Yeah, this was another one I was really looking forward to. Like I said, the whole show basically, but I love the Southern Gothic setting, and the characters look really well done. I love the Tim Burton esque kind of vibes mixed with Southern Gothic and folklore, and the idea of like there's these realms or sections that are ruled by a different beast or creature that's like a manifestation of emotions or vibes or some event that has happened that has turned somebody into a giant harpy or a giant crocodile or whatever other southern monster you want to throw in there. And the gameplay looks fun. It looks like a classical fairy tale action, but with some Metroidvania elements of like traversal and exploration being rewarded for looking around every nook and cranny. The it's clear from the developer diary, the documentary they've done, all their interviews that these people are very passionate about this. They took it very seriously and they've given the area, the regions, and the culture the respect it deserves. So, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. I will say that, if I were to offer advice to Microsoft going forward, I would be careful about what the more of the pacing of when you play certain games in a showcase because I can understand the idea of going from Ninja Gaiden's hyper aggressive, hyper violent, hyper, fast and brutal, and just like you're flying everywhere like a monkey on Mountain Dew, and to this, and then it being kind of like this, like record scratch kind of crash moment to where you're like, man, what is this combat? This like the combat looks good to me, and it looks like it fits the setting. I just think it was almost a disservice to them to put them right after that type of gameplay. Almost like it would be like if you put a certain type of shooter right after Doom the Dark Ages, it would feel like it would kind of get overshadowed and over encompassed. That would be just one thing of feedback I'd offer for them.
Yeah, I think when it comes to these things, pacing can be the most trivial thing, but like big at the same time. Because their show is 44 minutes long. Um, Pacing can be a bit weird, and when you have developers talking about the game, it can be off. But yeah, I thought it was good. I just can't wait for the game. It looks really good, and plus, I play a lot of open world games, a lot of open world RPGs. Like, I've 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 been craving more linear games I can finish in 12 hours.
Hmm.
Like, if I look at the list of games I finished in 2024, it's either these massive games that take me like 100 hours to finish, or like a small indie game I can finish in 3 hours. Like, I want a happy medium. Just give me some shorter games. And I think that's one of the benefits of Microsoft and how they set up at the minute. They have so many studios with different teams that they could come out with, like, hey, this is our big AAA game, you know, and it's going to be like, 100 hours long, but they could also come out with like a 12-hour game, 10-hour game, something like that. But yeah, South of Midnight looks really cool. Coming out April. There's also different versions of the game you can get. I think there's like different skins and stuff. A lot of these, uh, digital upgrades, like they come with a digital art book. I'm putting it out there. I don't really see any value in a digital art book. Like, I have a lot of big collector's editions, mainly Assassin's Creed, and they all come with like a physical art book. I've never actually looked at my digital art books and thought, "Wow, that's nice. I'll go through this next week." Not once. Maybe that's just me, but yeah, the game looks cool. Next up, they showed off Doom: The Dark Ages. Now, let me tell you, we saw this game last year when it was announced with a fairly short trailer, not much to go on. Uh, this game looks phenomenal, right? So like the first Doom in 2016 was all about side strafing. Basically, that was 100% of that game's combat: side strafing, circle strafing. The sequel, Doom Eternal, they were really obsessed with the grappling hook and vertical levels. This game, they want you to go head on towards combat, and I love that idea because as much as I like circle strafing in games, I feel like Doom Eternal got a bit too much with the verticality. But this game,
Mhm.
they just want you to like. If you look at all the footage, it's literally Doom guy walking into hordes of enemies, like not really having to worry about your health bar or any of that stuff because you are an overpowered dude with a shield that's also a chainsaw, and it just works. And what they've done this time is it's a cinematic game. It has full on cutscenes, full on story. If you played the previous two games, there's not really a story there. Like, as much as I love Doom 2016 and Eternal, the audio log format can get a bit long in the tooth. You know,
Agreed.
I'm I 100% like look, movie games can be a bit of a conversation for another day. Um but I think connecting a universe such as rich as what Doom can be, tying it together with cutscenes just works. Like, why not? You have this deep sci-fi universe, and now you open it up with cutscenes. Yeah, I'm all in. And plus, you're gonna have what, a 20-hour Doom game with essentially a few hours of cutscenes. And if you've played Indiana Jones, uh, that has 4 hours of cutscenes, but it's paced perfectly, and it doesn't feel like you're watching a movie for hours. So that's the right choice for me. The combat looks absolutely nuts. The different weapons in the game, they're more creative than ever. The shield you can use to teleport yourself to a different area. Kind of like I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure I've played a platformer that has an item that works the same way. I can't remember what it was called, but the traversal in this game looks really fun. Combat looks great. They've basically came out and said there's multiple levels where you can ride these, dragons or mechs. There's a Pacific Rim sized mech in the game, which isn't just a one off. Now, I've talked about this in the show in the past. I hate it when developers put a really cool game mechanic in a game you use once. Like, I love these moments where you have this power trip, but the problem is it's always towards the end of the game or it happens once. And they said during the show, like, this isn't just a one and done thing. When you get to pilot or ride the dragon with laser wings, that's not just one section. That's multiple different sections where there's a skill tree for that dragon. And I love that. Like, I think a lot of people listening have played a certain game where you get to a really cool moment and you hope you experience another moment like that later in the game, and it turns out you don't. That annoys the hell out of me. Turns out that's not going to be a thing in this one. So the game looks fantastic. Now, they did come out the day afterwards and said that there's no multiplayer of any kind in this one. They wanted to focus on the campaign. It was the right move. It really was. Doom Eternal's multiplayer is barely touched. Doom 2016 had good multiplayer in the alpha. I've talked about this before. Doom 2016's multiplayer in the closed alpha was incredible. But the game we got at launch, but with multiplayer, it wasn't like that at all. So I think concentrating on the campaign was just the way to go. Doom multiplayer can work at some point down the line, maybe as a separate game, but as of now, let Doom be Doom at its best, and that's single player. The game looks nuts. It's coming out in May. There's also a collector's edition you can order and all that stuff. What can I say? Like, I think they've knocked it out of the park, and I think id want this to be their best Doom game to date. To me, that was Doom 2016. This looks even better. Logan, what do you think? Because it was actually an impressive showing for Doom.
Yeah, I was very, very impressed. I came in expecting, id to work their magic and it would look awesome and feel great and everything. And lo and behold, they delivered and exceeded my expectations, which were already very high. And, id, there's a reason why they've been around for 30 plus years. They're the fathers of the FPS, essentially. And they they know their craft better than anybody. And the idea that they are living proof that you can keep an IP going for this long with subtle innovations and tweaks to gameplay and, revisions, listening to community feedback, trying new ideas, branching out, but also keeping some things core as like quote canon. Like this is core to this IP and we just do not change that. And they're just masters at all of that, marrying it all together and making a true Doom experience. And shout out to the Doom community as well. Like we always made jokes about the Halo community and some other communities out there who flip a gasket if you add the ability to run as a super soldier,
Yeah.
or you add a grappling hook, or you do anything that alters something to do with the game, period. Like even something minuscule or something that just makes common sense. Doom community's like, all right, I have a grappling hook now. That's cool. Or I can have a laser dragon. Heck yeah, sign me up. Or I have a Captain America mixed with Marcus Phoenix shield that I just chuck at people and it tears them to shreds and it comes back and then I can deflect things or use it to parry or bash in skulls with. Or I have guns that literally use skulls as bullets to shoot out skull shards at people. Or, I have a Godzilla sized mech that I just smash things with. They're like, yeah, sign me up. Sounds cool. Sounds like Doom to me. It's like no big deal. It's like, yeah, okay, of course. Why not? And I wish more fan bases would adopt that mindset. That was just a side tangent, but it looks incredible and I can't wait for it. And that Doom Collector's Edition is calling me like the Goblin Mask. It's just like, man, that edition looks really, really nice. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean the collector's edition alone. Like I try not to get collector's editions now, just because the amount of space they take up. Um, but like that Doom collector's edition is pretty nice. You mentioned the whole the Halo and the Doom community thing. I've never really thought about it like that. Like Doom changes significantly with every new release. Like hell, Doom
It
3.
started off like, yeah.
Yeah, like Doom 3 is essentially a horror game. And like nobody really complained. Like people complained about some enemy types back in the day, but like Halo fans, so yeah, Halo fans, they complain about everything. Oh, Master Chief can sprint now. People lose their marbles. Master Chief can climb ledges now. People lose their marbles. The grappling hook, people lose their marbles. But like Doom, they're like, no, but we're good. Like we'll try this. Um, I think that's how you make an IP like last longer. I mean, I know this is an Xbox show, but look at God of War. God of War was a fixed camera angle, uh, like the best thing you could say is like a God of War game, and then they changed it to a full-on third-person, over-the-shoulder action adventure game to suit the modern times. Halo, like they try adding things and people complain. And by the way, I've never once £200 for the collector's edition. Oof. Uh, by the way, I don't know if I'm getting cheap or something, but I bought a collector's edition for Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Sorry, Human Revolution. I think it was 2011 that game came out. It came with a full-on like action figure with a bunch of like attachments and stuff. It came with a comic book, a collector's box, and obviously the game and DLC. That cost £99. But like £200 for a collector's edition, I don't know. That looks very nice. But yeah, Halo. I think Halo fans need to open up to maybe more gameplay styles, more just changes. Like I don't want to. By the way, I've been a Halo fan. I know we're talking about the developer direct, but we'll get back onto it in a second. But like I've been a Halo fan my entire life. I don't want to play Halo Combat Evolved over and over and over. Oh look, new game, same movement. Like I love the fact that Halo's changed and tried new ideas. Um, I think that's why Doom's exciting at the minute. They're doing something different. You have a chainsaw shield. Like, why does the Doom Slayer have a chainsaw shield instead of a BFG? But it just works. Um, but yeah, I think the showcase was great. I think the pacing was perfect outside of some developer talk stuff. But yeah, it was good. Now I will say this. I think the entire community was kind of led on, maybe to our own fault, that Final Fantasy was going to be there in some capacity. The legendary Japanese IP that we heard, obviously that was Ninja Gaiden. Like, there are Final Fantasy games coming to Xbox. We just don't know when. And I think, Square Enix, they've been very weird at the minute because Final Fantasy VII Rebirth just launched on PC. They're obviously going to continue to patch that as well. But honestly, at this point, I think it's either going to drop any day or they're waiting for the Switch 2 to be announced, probably. Full game slate, their showcase in, what is it, April 4th? I think that's going to be. Oh, sorry, April 2nd. So I 100% think now that we will see Final Fantasy 7 or 16 announced at a Nintendo showcase, and then 20 minutes later on Twitter, you're going to see people panicking that it's not coming to Xbox, and then Square Enix will tweet out the full trailer with the Xbox logo at the end, because they are on making Part 3 right now. They have a team making, patches for the PC version. Obviously, the Xbox version is going to be next. I can't imagine it being that far out, and allegedly, we are getting 7 Remake this year. Now, before we get into the whole Final Fantasy thing, Logan, what was your entire review of the showcase?
I thought it was A plus. I thought it was fantastic. One of the best ones they've done. Like, just standing ovation to Tina Amin and the team who does these shows. Ever since they brought Dev Direct to be a thing, and she came on board with Xbox from IGN and revamped how they did stuff. Not it's too big of a word to say everybody, but a lot of people disliked or had issues with the Inside Xbox format and how they did some stuff pacing and
Yeah.
gameplay wise and stuff. And the way that the dev direct is, they're short, sweet, to the point, but you also get some dev interaction, get to see some friendly faces, get some humanization of stuff, plus also insight, and it's just game after game after game. Pretty much everything at these shows has been something I've been interested in for the most part. And yeah, I love them, and I hope they become more than just a once or twice a year. Like, check in, like you could have a quarterly direct almost, or something like that. Like, as many games and studios as Xbox has now, and especially with their recent decisions on where all they're going to be going, you definitely have enough to talk about for a whole year in different little check-in periods. So I love the developer direct. It's one of the best things Xbox has done.
Yeah, I mean, great pacing and stuff, and like you said, they could do more than one a year. Like the developer direct, I think it being in January gets people set up for the year, because Microsoft's first half of this year is stacked, and I think that was the big takeaway from this show, that they have Avowed coming out in less than a month. You have South of Midnight in April, Doom in May, and apparently, allegedly, we get an Elder Scrolls by June. So who knows what's going to be at future showcases, or when we'll get them. Considering the format with just a few games, you're right. We could actually see a few developer directs every year. Pyro Mad, who's a friend and a moderator of the channel, he asked us last night, what do I think of showcases going forward, because there's no E3. And Xbox's showcase last year in June was basically our replacement of E3. Yeah, you do have Jeff Keighley's what's it called, Summer Games Fest. It's not the same. there's not that same excitement. People would go there in person and celebrate these different publishers, putting out their games, because we used to have Xbox, Ubisoft, EA, Bethesda, PlayStation, Nintendo all come out with these showcases, and now we just don't have that. And I think these little showcases kind of do make up for that. But yeah, Xbox, they have a lot of cool things coming down the road. Now back to the Final Fantasy thing. I think it's going to be a bit weird for Microsoft because people keep atting them, and I've noticed this a lot over the past week. People keep atting Microsoft like, when's it coming? When's it coming? It's like, it's all on Square Enix at this point. Square Enix, they're going to do their own thing. Like I said, I think they're waiting for the Switch 2 to have its full showcase. Because if you're going to debut a port of a Japanese game, do you really show it during an Xbox developer direct, or do you show it during the Switch showcase? Like, the Nintendo Switch 2 trailer, by the way, it has over 20 million views already. There's nothing really in that trailer outside of showing you Mario Kart and the device itself. So I think that they are probably saving Final Fantasy in general for that showcase, and then Xbox, a few minutes later. There's also partner directs which are coming soon. For the past 2 years, I believe, in March, Microsoft's had a partner preview where third-party games show up there. I mean, hell, that's where we got Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta gameplay, and it looked amazing. So who knows what's going to happen there? But yeah, great showcase. Again, I think we'll see from Final Fantasy within the next 2 months. It's going to be a weird year because all these publishers, and this will go towards even the port by Square Enix. This year is going to be front heavy. This first half is going to be really good, and then depending on when GTA 6 comes out, a lot of publishers are going to be staying far away. Like Doom, to me, Doom: The Dark Ages would be a big enough game to be a holiday title. But yeah, May, perfect. Anyway, we'll move on. No, let's talk about Phil Spencer in the interviews. Now, a lot of people have been going all over the place with these interviews from Destin Legary and Gamer Tag Radio, picking apart everything he says, and like hell, even looking at the shelf to see if there's anything new there. I will say this, like, it just kind of came out in like a clip today, or it might have been yesterday, where Phil Spencer literally came out and said like not everything's going to other platforms, and I will say, I think, is this pre-recorded? Why do I always say that in podcasts? Like, excuse me for coughing.
Peekaboo.
Yeah.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not pre-recorded.
Yeah, I always say that comment in podcasts is this pre-recorded. Like, how am I interacting with chat if it's pre-recorded? Like, I wish I had the ability to do that because I'd just be sitting back playing Metal Gear Solid 2 right now, but I'm not. I'm doing a podcast. I love doing these podcasts. It's great, but thanks for joining the show. What was I saying? Yeah, the Phil Spencer thing. Honestly, I get the impression that Phil Spencer is absolutely sick and tired of being asked the same 4 questions over and over again. Like, every single interview Phil Spencer does, he's asked about multi-platform games. He's asked about the next Xbox. And this goes on to the whole me talking about, like, leaks being news. And, like, if I was Phil Spencer, I'd be in... Like, I thought the interviews, by the way, by Gamer Tag Radio and Destin Legary, they did a fantastic job. But it just feels like we're getting the same questions. Like, we already knew about the multi-platform stuff. We already knew about their future PC hardware, future console hardware. Like, the handheld thing was brought up. We all know there's going to be a handheld next generation. Like, Phil Spencer said something very specific during that interview, which he basically confirmed it. He said, we have Series S versions of these games in the conversation about handhelds. And what have we been talking about for the past 6 months? That they could have Series S versions run on a handheld. So, like, it's not even, like, speculation anymore. He basically confirmed it. Why would you bring up the Series S if we're talking about handhelds? There you go. Spoiler alert, it's happening. So, like, to me, the interviews were good. We know what's happening. And, the multi-platform thing is it's weird because the gaming space is it's growing and it's changing in ways people aren't really like comfortable with in a lot of ways. But some people are okay with some things. Like look, Lego Horizon Adventures, a game made by PlayStation on a PlayStation IP, it came out to the Nintendo Switch and the PC the same day. It's a third-party game. Nobody's out crying that it's the end of PlayStation. It's the end of the world. The sky is falling. Nobody was doing that. But like, do you know what was announced at the same time with Lego Horizon? Indiana Jones going to PlayStation. Like 8 months later, right? And people are acting like it's the end of the world. People are choosing their battles online when to argue and say multi-platform decisions are going to be the end of the platform. Like, come on. I say we have fanboys in chat. Like, come on. This isn't the place. Not my chat. Not today. Like I think that Xbox and PlayStation, they trying different things. The industry is a fickle place because look, if Nintendo put out a game, let's say I'm just gonna make something up, Wind Waker 4K edition, right? By the way, Wind Waker is my favorite Zelda game. Like that game's gonna sell 20 plus million copies, right? If Microsoft and Sony were selling like that on their consoles, I 100% believe there would be no multi-platform stuff at all outside of multiplayer and PC. At all. But games cost way too much to make. Like, hell, The Witcher 4 is rumored to cost $400 million. That game has to be an instant success to basically guarantee its existence working, right? So, like, I completely understand the multi-platform stuff. It shocks people because you're going to have something like, again, going off rumors, Halo the Master Chief Collection on a different platform, right? In the past when I've talked about this, people agree with me. If Xbox did multi-platform games only on Switch, no one would bat an eye.
They'd welcome it.
Yeah, no one would care. No one would care. It's just this battle online between Xbox and PlayStation. Like Nintendo is in its own little bubble, making billions of dollars, doing what they're doing. But it's this like, I want to say it's not a culture war, but it's like this weird fanboy war on Twitter and just social media, YouTube. Like, look, next time people go on YouTube, go to the game section, right? You'll see people talk about Xbox third party content. Xbox is becoming third party. Like I've even seen journalists today come out with that stuff, right? Xbox and PlayStation both make third party games, and they have done for years. Helldivers 2 went to PC. Lego Horizon Adventures went to Switch. Third party games. Doesn't matter if it's on PC or not on Xbox or whatever, they're still third party games, right? We have to deal and learn with what Microsoft's doing. Because the music industry changed back in the early 2000s with iTunes. The movie industry changed with, Netflix and Disney Plus and Amazon Prime. And like, hell, look at theaters at the minute, right? Movies aren't making money at the cinema. We used to have summer blockbusters every single year that made absolute bank. And now it's rare that you hear a movie scratch $1 billion. People aren't going to the cinema, and I could talk for like an hour why I think that's happening. For many different reasons, but like when it comes to games have been the same for 40 years. You go to a store, you buy a video game, you take it home, you play it, you're done, you move on to something else. Well, now people basically do that with digital games as well, but like the industry's changed. Game Pass, look, there's a whole subset of gamers out there. They are scared of Game Pass for no reason. People are saving money, playing more games, and that angers some to the point where they have full podcasts every week bashing Game Pass. People saving money angers people. That's where we're at now. Like, the gaming industry is a fickle place. It's constantly changing now because, it really needs to. Games cost way more to make than ever. And like it's not like the movie industry. Like look at actors, and I mentioned this last week. You have mainstream movie actors appear in TV shows now. But if you go back 10 years ago, this wasn't happening. You know?
It was almost unheard of. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm watching an Apple TV show at the minute called For All Mankind. It is possibly
Very
one of
good.
yeah, it's possibly one of the best TV shows I've ever seen in my entire life. It is shocking how good it is, and I only got to start watching it about a month ago, and it's incredible. And like that has actors you see in mainstream television. Look at Silo, right? Rebecca Ferguson in a TV show, Hollywood actress. It's because Hollywood movies aren't making money like they used to. Why do you think you see celebrities come out with, an endorsement with a new kind of whiskey, or they start in a podcast? It's because they aren't making the money used to with movies. The gaming industry is kind of the same. The gaming industry is costing way too much to, fund these games, and they're changing. We just have to move with it. And look, when it comes to Xbox, I preferred Xbox since that original Xbox came out, and it's had that massive Duke controller, and it had its own gravitational pull because of the controller being so big. That was a huge console. It had a hard drive. I was able to rip my own music and play the music inside of WWE Raw 2 wrestling entrances. Right, that was super cool. And like I became a fan of Xbox. I loved the offset thumbsticks. And then when the 360 came out, I loved the ecosystem and all that stuff. I could list reasons all day. Like, I'm not changing myself from being an Xbox fan because they're making some games available on other platforms. Like, that doesn't say anything about me. That says that I am only a fan of Xbox if they have a certain game locked to the platform. Now, do I think Microsoft should have games to incentivize people to the platform? Absolutely. And I do think they will do that. But I think that they aren't going to hoard. Like, look, we get told all the time, lol, you play old games. So if Halo Master Chief Collection goes to other platforms, are they going to be celebrating the fact that they're going to be getting a 10-year-old collection of 20-year-old games? I mean, hell, won't these first-person games give them motion sickness? Last time I checked,
Yeah,
Halo.
they ain't used to shooters on PlayStation, that's for sure.
Yeah, like PlayStation fans, like the ones that are hyping up Xbox games. All of a sudden, I've been told under every single post I make about Flight Simulator that it's not a game and it's crap. But now people are celebrating this. People are celebrating that they may get Age of Mythology. Good RTS, by the way. But people are celebrating that they're going to get an RTS game in a genre that they've never talked about. It's just a war people use online, right? Because you have these people online. They've made it their entire personality because they don't have one, right? That's the truth. So, yes, will it be weird when games go to other platforms? Yeah, it will be. But people get over it, right? The world continues to spin. People just like to be melodramatic over it. I will say this, though. The exact same crowd that cried about Microsoft having a monopoly with Call of Duty, they really want Microsoft out of the console game altogether. And it's became abundantly clear this past week when I've seen pretty big people, in the gaming space talk about, wouldn't it be cool if it's just PlayStation next generation? That just goes to show people are okay with monopolies when it comes to just Sony. Again, I don't think Microsoft's getting out of the console business. They're working on next-gen consoles and possibly, the handheld and the hybrid device. I'm interested in Xbox as an ecosystem and the video games they make. I think their hardware is going to be excellent. But to me, this is just a war people are doing online for attention at the end of the day. Logan, I've been talking for what feels like 50 minutes straight. What's your take on the whole multi-platform thing? Because I think it's been a bit overblown, especially considering Phil Spencer did iterate that not everything is going over.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you. Like it's it is what it is at this point. Like personally, would I have gone down this road? No. Just straight up, this is not how I would have done it, but I'm not in charge of Microsoft. But like to me, I think there is value Like, even if it's not, quote, financial value, there's value to identity and having things core to one thing versus another that differentiates. But as we learn in life, things change and we have to adapt and survive or sink and swim. So this is how the industry's going. And like, not comparing it directly to the Xbox One because that launch was, obviously a massive cluster cluck, almost killed the company, all these things. But like kind of with that, Xbox, the vision was there and they saw where things were heading. They were just too early. Now I think they're on time, but it's ahead of where some other people are and they're not quite ready to get there yet. But I'm pretty sure at this point PlayStation games will be going elsewhere eventually in the next decade, like, or a little less. Like, I think PlayStation games are going to be going elsewhere as well. I think that's just the industry we live in now. Things are so expensive. They're trying to reach as many people as possible to not only, deal with costs, but to garner more interest and more user base and more people wanting to expand these and turn them into, shows or movies or board games or merchandise and, monetization for games, make them into franchises instead of just one offs. Like, there are so many reasons why it makes sense. And at the end of the day, I think it comes down to you ask Daddy Warbucks for $70 billion, that comes with strings attached. I bottom line, I think that is core to why this is happening now compared to later. Would I have liked to have seen a world where they held out a little bit longer with their exclusivity just to see, because PlayStation has fallen over their face right now, and they're basically having a money hat to make it look like they have anything going, and then the other stuff is live service getting canceled left and right, and then they have Astrobot, which is great, and I like it, and I'm thrilled it did well and has been received well, but that can't carry a platform. Astrobot can't. They have to have more than that. So in general, I think it's the way the industry's going. Love it, hate it, run from it, embrace it, whatever. It's like Thanos. It's inevitable. It's here. And it's time to get with the program. And so I'm embracing it. Someone playing these games on a different platform doesn't affect my ability to play them or enjoy them on my preferred platform. I've said it a million times and I'll say it again. As long as this doesn't lead to a discontinuation of Xbox hardware or me getting royally screwed and losing access to all my games that I have put thousands of dollars in and over 20 plus years and have built this, gargantuan library that I love and support and with the community and all this other stuff. As long as that doesn't go away and I still have access to all that and new stuff going forward that I can play anywhere on my cloud device or a new handheld device or my Xbox, whatever. As long as that continues, I'm I'm grins and giggles. I'm happy. If that were threatened, I would be very, very angry and upset. But for now, I'm just going to go with that's not going to be an issue. Until that happens and until that becomes an issue, I'm not sweating it. And I embrace this change because I think in the end, it's better for the brand and the games themselves. Like we said with Alan Wake, I would have rather Alan Wake 2 happen and be multi-platform than it have been stuck with Microsoft and never happen for a sequel. Because we got an amazing game and I was thrilled. And it went everywhere and everybody got to experience it. And we're getting more Alan Wake and, Control, interconnected universe, stuff like that. Like, I want something to succeed and be everywhere, even if I don't get to have some quote ownership of like, see, it's only on this thing. Like, those days are gone. I mean, the days of, you know, Crash Bandicoot and Sega, I mean, Sonic Wars and Nintendo and Sony at each other's throats with crazy console wars and like memes and stuff. It's just, it's a different world we live in now, and we have to embrace it.
Yeah. I think, if you go back this time last year, like people were freaking out. I think the way everything was handled last year was a bit rough. The way people were meant to wait. We're told there was
They
the
did a bad job, just straight up, with
yeah
how they rolled that out and announced it. It was terrible, and a lot of people felt misled. If they had handled it better, I don't think that would have happened.
yeah. I think this year because like look, I'll be honest, like in the DMs with me and Logan, like I've been saying like Microsoft's handling of the whole situation has been bad, you know. But this year, they've actually done a pretty good job. They've actually been open with people. Um, I will say this though, the industry, I'm doing air quotes, the industry leakers that constantly talk about this stuff, they don't help the situation. In fact, like I've noticed that they
They
don't.
pour gasoline.
Yeah, like they see a situation, they make it worse, and notice that they never post PlayStation leaks. It's always Xbox. It's always multi-platform stuff. It's never anything else. That's what.
They're scared of them.
Yeah, like I think Microsoft didn't need to like lock down the information more because, like, look, leaks in general can be fun to talk about, but doesn't really benefit anyone. Like when it comes to views and stuff, look, in the past, most of the views on my channel don't come from leaks. So like I don't really care about talking about that stuff. I have done in the past and I will do in the future, but it there's not really a reason for me to talk about it when it comes to like, views. Like it's not that interesting at the end of the day. I, I'm kind of like sick of how everything in news is gaming. In gaming, it's like leaks and stuff like. Look, go to Reset Era at any day. By the way, don't go to Reset Era. It's an absolute it's a cesspit of despair if you're a gamer. But like almost every single day, there's an article about, or should I say, a blog about an Xbox game, and there's people port begging the game that have literally made fun of Microsoft and Xbox for years. And we always have these people on podcasts going, "I want Xbox to do better," and then they talk about wanting Microsoft out of the game. Like people are thirsty. Like imagine for a second if Xbox just went right. They shut down shop. No more consoles, no more ecosystem. What are these people going to talk about? They're devoid of any personality because that's all they do online now, right? They've made the console war their literal purpose online, their existence. So if Xbox hypothetically shut shop, which they won't, like they'd have nothing to talk about. Nothing. Because they're boring people. Everything is Xbox leaks this, Xbox games that. And someone asked this question the other day on Twitter. Can anyone name a PlayStation podcast that only talks about PlayStation? Like, there's some good people out there that have PlayStation podcasts, but they always talk about Xbox stuff. I don't know. I just think the whole multi-platform situation, like look, Marathon's coming to Xbox. MLB The Show, that's what it's called, yeah, the baseball game. That's coming to Xbox. Like, things are changing. People get on with it. Before we close out the show, I will talk about the MLB The Show Game Pass situation. So for the past 3 or 4 years, MLB The Show has been on Xbox and Game Pass day one. This is the first year it isn't in Game Pass day one. I have a little theory about this. So Game Pass is worldwide, and Microsoft pays X amount of dollars to have a game in the service for X amount of months. They've paid a lot to have, Grand Theft Auto 5 in Game Pass for like 6 months or whatever. My theory is that considering, Sacred, they talk about Xbox. But my theory about MLB The Show is that, oh, excuse me, my phone's going off. My theory is that considering baseball is really only big in the US and Japan, I think that maybe not enough people were playing Game Pass worldwide for them to justify a contract. So one of the longest games that were in Game Pass, one of the games that was in Game Pass for the longest time was actually Batman Arkham Knight and Alien Isolation. These games were in Game Pass for like 4 or 5 years, and then they were only taken.
Alien Isolation still there, isn't it?
It might be. Um, it might be actually, but them two games have been in Game Pass for the longest amount of time, and basically those games were always in the top 20 of most played. So Microsoft must have looked at those numbers for those games and thought, "Hey, people keep playing these games in Game Pass. We'll keep renewing our license." So my theory is that with the baseball games, MLB The Show, is that worldwide people just aren't playing it. Like baseball isn't a thing in the UK. It's not a thing in Europe. So like that's my theory. Like why would you pay all this money to when you only have one or two countries basically play this game? That's my theory on it. I put this. I've downloaded MLB The Show in the past just to give it a go, but then I realized I don't even understand the sport, right? So I don't know what I'm going to be doing. So that's just me. Like Logan, what's your thought on my theory? Because like there would only really be 2 or 3 big countries that would be into this game, even though it would be paid for Game Pass worldwide.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I baseball is obviously a huge sport. It's worldwide known, everything. But like you said, the major markets for it are the United States and Japan. I know Cuba has a lot of interest in it because a lot of players end up here. And there are some other, South American, Central American countries that have a lot of players here as well. But overall, in general, it is US and Japan. And then baseball isn't as king on the mountain in sports as some of the other stuff like football. And then, basketball has a pretty significant, power as well. Maybe not as much as it used to, but it's still a power player. NHL. So there's some pretty good competition there. But I think, like you said, that it's probably just an investment to where they're like, as long as it's on the platform, we're happy, and we can use that money elsewhere. And you know what? I would say that I think if they want to get a sports game into Game Pass, that what they should do is drop a bag at EA for the college football 26. I would say if you want a sports game that would drive people to Game Pass, that would be their title because it went absolutely nuts. The world did when they finally got college football 25. It sold all these numbers, lots of engagement. People there are more college football fans, I would say, in the US than baseball fans.
Yeah.
And even if it's more of a US market centric sport, I would say that college football would have more power. And if they had to put their money on one sports game, I would put my money on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just a theory because like I've never heard of anyone in the UK playing MLB The Show. Again, I don't even think like I know baseball in the UK is aired at like I think like 4 in the morning on one of the TV channels. Like it's not a thing here. Like you know, um, but yeah, just my theory. Um, I think it would be cool for what's it called, college baseball, like not college baseball, college football,
College football, yeah.
because like even as a Brit, I knew like in the US that game was huge when it came out, and I think it was like June or July in the US. So yeah, I think it would be good for Microsoft to get a sports game in the future. Maybe not get cricket, those cricket video games.
Yeah, I have no idea what cricket about. I just know it's like something baseball ish.
Yeah, look, I bit of a tangent. I live in the UK. I played cricket at school. I don't even know the rules. I played cricket every week, and I don't know how to play cricket. There you go. That's how complicated that sport is. But hey, a lot of people watch it. But yeah, that's the sports segment of this week's show. Everyone in chat, pretty much has been awesome once again this week. We'll be back the same time next week. I will say this: I keep mentioning this green room thing where I want to start the show 30 minutes early, maybe before Logan gets on, and just randomly talk about, TV, wrestling, that type of thing. Because again, I'm getting into wrestling again. And then when the show starts at its normal time, when the show ends in the future, I'll just delete the first 30 minutes and it'll just seem like a regular show. I'm still thinking about it. But again, everyone in chat has been awesome. The big video I've been working on for 2 months is finally out now. It's in the description down below. It's the 20 biggest new games coming to Xbox in 2025. There's a lot of games on that list you may have not even heard of, but you want to see these games. And trust me, you'll probably end up buying them because there's some really cool concepts coming for games this year. It's going to be a great year for gaming. What can I say? And trying to squeeze down that list down to 20 games was actually quite difficult. The list was actually top 50 games, but the video would have been close to an hour long. So I kind of changed my mind. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Again, it's in the description down below. The links to our Twitters or X links are in the description down below. Follow us on there. Me and Logan are on basically every single day now. You can kind of call it an addiction at this point. I mean, we're there for life at this point. What can I say? But yeah, again, everyone's been awesome. We are out, everybody. Peace.